whole situation is so confusing that none of us are really getting this right. Actually, Turkey doesn't want Iran to take over everything. Israel doesn't want Iran to take over everything. And in fact, Israel actually stands up for themselves all the time.
We may end up being in a bigger war.
Let me finish. Don't interrupt. So Iran gets up against the border.
I'm sorry, Senator. I am interrupted because
comes up
you're
against
going
the
to stick.
Rand Paul faced off against Whoopi Goldberg on live TV, standing firm with facts and conviction. The debate was intense, with high stakes and palpable tension. Paul's unwavering commitment to his principles shone through, showcasing the importance of critical thinking and courage in defending one's beliefs.
The case against socialism, Bernie Sanders is no longer alone on the debate stage. It seems like we're hearing more and more about socialism. In fact, 43% of Americans think it's a good thing. You are on the complete other end of that. Tell us about this book.
Well, one of the things we learned in writing the book is a lot of people say, well, we're not for Stalin, we're not for Hitler, we're for Scandinavia. So as we were researching the book, we actually found that Bernie Sanders' form of socialism actually is unpopular, and he would never get elected to anything in Denmark. In fact, the Prime Minister of Denmark, when he heard Bernie was going around saying they were socialists, says, no, we're not socialists. We have private property, a stock exchange, we have low corporate income taxes, we don't have a minimum wage. And the big difference, and this is where the big lie comes from, Bernie says we're going to give you all this.
Rand Paul's strong libertarian views sparked a fiery exchange. He's a vocal critic of socialism, advocating for lower taxes, reduced government spending, and a non-interventionist foreign policy. Paul's calm demeanor and data-driven arguments often help him navigate heated debates.
We're only going to tax the rich people. In Scandinavia, they tax the working class, 25% sales tax, and an income tax starting at $60,000 is 60%. So really the difference between their country and our country is they do have more free stuff in Scandinavia, but they pay for it with massive taxes on the working class and the middle class.
But we have massive taxes here, but we don't get any free stuff. We don't have free health care. Well, our public education system is a problem. It seems like the only people that get free stuff are the very, very wealthy.
We have a different form of taxation in our...
Rand Paul joined The View to promote his book, The Case Against Socialism. It was clear that Whoopi and the panel were ready for a heated discussion one. They dove straight into the heart of the issue, questioning whether socialism was truly as dangerous as Rand Paul claimed. The stage was set for a clash of ideologies, with Whoopi and Rand Paul on opposite sides of the debate. The audience could feel the tension, knowing that this wasn't going to be a polite conversation. Both Whoopi and Rand Paul were ready to defend their beliefs, and the debate was on.
In our country, ours is much more progressive. So we've taken the poor off of the rolls. They don't pay income tax anymore. Most people below $50,000 don't pay any income tax. The top 1% in our country pay 40%.
Our audience says that's not true.
Well, the IRS statistics say that the top 1% in our country pay 40% of the income tax, and that those making less than $50,000...
Donald Trump doesn't pay any income tax.
Paul explained that the promises of free health care and education often come with a hefty price tag, paid for by the working class through heavy taxes. The tension in the room was palpable as the debate turned into a passionate exchange about ideology. The discussion highlighted the complexities of Venezuela's economic crisis. While some argue that corruption and external factors, such as U.S. sanctions, contributed to the collapse, others contend that socialist policies are the root cause too. The debate also touched on the human cost of Venezuela's crisis, with millions struggling to access basic necessities like food and health care. As the discussion continued, it became clear that the debate was far from over, with both sides deeply entrenched in their beliefs.
Because I live in Miami. There's tens of thousands of Venezuelan exiles living there. You talk a lot about Venezuela in your new book. I get a lot of political ads from the Republican Party. Donald Trump has tweeted this. Many have tweeted this. If you vote for Democrats, they will turn the United States into Venezuela. Do you think that's a fair statement to make?
Well, if you vote for a socialist, you might get socialism.
Come on, don't do that. Maduro is not a socialist. He's a corrupt, murderous thug who is starving his people.
That's not true.
That's not true? Maduro's not a thug and a murderer who's starving his people.
Let's have a conversation here. Chavez was a socialist, and socialism was the economic system of Venezuela.
It's a kleptocracy. It's not socialism.
But here's the question is, they voted for socialism. They voted for, let me finish.
No, I can't let you finish. If you're going to say Maduro's not a murderous thug, I'm not letting you finish because that's a damn lie.
Thrive on free markets. This distinction is crucial as it highlights the difference between democratic socialism and authoritarian regimes like Venezuela's. The host's pushback, questioning the fairness of comparing Venezuela to other socialist countries, is understandable. However, Rand Paul's precision and data-driven arguments leave little room for doubt. Venezuela's economic collapse is a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked government power and the importance of free markets too. It's worth noting that Venezuela's economic crisis is complex, with multiple factors contributing to its downfall. These include overspending, lower oil prices, and political unrest. However, the country's socialist policies, such as price controls and nationalization of industries, have exactated the crisis.
Damn life. And I've got a bunch of neighbors and friends who know this. Don't do this to me. Don't mansplain. I'm a 47-year-old girl.
Thanks to Senator Rand Paul. His new book is called The Case Against Socialism and will...
1. Interview 6. The debate between Rand Paul and Whoopi Goldberg was a clash of ideologies, with Paul arguing that socialism inevitably leads to government control and Goldberg countering that the U.S. is not like Venezuela. Paul pointed to Denmark as an example, explaining how their social programs are funded by high taxes on the middle class. Paul's statement, "If you vote for socialism, you get socialism," struck a chord with the audience, who applauded in agreement. This moment highlighted the fundamental differences between capitalist and socialist systems. In capitalist economies, private individuals own the means of production, whereas in socialist economies, the government controls the means of production too.
I've always supported about President Trump is actually one of the things I liked about President Obama, that we said we were overextended, that the Iraq War was a mistake. I think it's one of the reasons President Obama beat Hillary Clinton, because Hillary Clinton had supported the Iraq War. I still think the Iraq War, regime change in the Middle East, and these wars are senseless. So does President Trump. He doesn't want to get us involved in another Iraq War in Syria. If anything, Syria is more complicated. The other is a practical concern. You have 50 soldiers. They're talking about moving 50 soldiers. Who goes to war with 50 soldiers? You have 50 soldiers and tens of thousands of Turkish troops amassing. The Turks are also allies. The Free Syrian Army were our allies for 7 years. They're allies.
Rand Paul's debate with Whoopi Goldberg was a clash of ideologies, with Paul arguing that socialism's real-world consequences are often far from rosy. He emphasized how centralized government power can stifle creativity, crush ambition, and ultimately hurt those it claims to protect. Whoopi countered that socialism could be implemented differently in the U.S., but Paul countered with examples of countries that tried similar experiments and failed. The debate then shifted to foreign policy, with the host questioning Paul's support for pulling troops out of Syria. Paul argued that endless wars put American soldiers in harm's way without a clear mission, and that many conflicts result in more chaos, not less. He emphasized that America's responsibility is first to its people and its Constitution, and that staying in wars indefinitely isn't leadership.
Somebody wakes up and says, "Oh, we're out."
Right.
Is that the right way to do this?
I think the way we look at wars, we don't look at
No. Is that the right way to do it?
Let me answer the question.
Okay.
When we decide whether or not we're sending our young people into harm's way, we should obey the Constitution, which says we should declare war and put them in a war theater. But let me finish.
Okay.
And here's the thing about it, is if you ask these people, Lindsey Graham and the Cheney war and all these warmongers that want to stay at war forever, who are we going to declare war on? They don't know who. We're going to declare war on Turkey, our ally?
Should we
the
ever
Free Syrian
walk
Army,
out
our ally?
in the middle? It's like walking out.
You should never be there in the first place.
That's not the question. No, that's all good.
But see, the left agreed with
we're
me for
in
so
there.
many years. For so many years, the left agreed with me.
I am neither left nor right. I'm just American. I want to know, should we be taking, should we be walking out on people?
The debate between Rand Paul and the host of The View was a heated one, with both sides presenting strong arguments. When Sonny Houston accused Rand Paul of supporting tax cuts that only benefit the wealthy, he countered with a striking fact. The top 1% of earners in the U.S. pay nearly 40% of all income taxes. He also pointed out that a significant portion of the population pays little to no income tax. Rand Paul's argument was that tax cuts can actually benefit the middle class, and he used the example of Denmark to illustrate his point. In Denmark, taxes on the middle class fund free programs, but workers also pay up to 60% in income taxes and a 25% sales tax. Rand Paul's message was clear: nothing is free, and someone always has to pay the bill. The hosts, however, were not convinced, and the debate reached its boiling point when Whoopi Goldberg declared, "I'm just American." Rand Paul's response was sharp. "If you're just American, maybe you should listen to ideas that don't align with your narrative." That's what true Americans do. The crowd's reaction was deafening, with applause and a shift in energy.
Here's the thing is, left and right have agreed in the past that regime change doesn't work. When we got rid of Hussein, we got chaos and more terrorism. When we got rid of Gaddafi, chaos and more terrorism.
But Senator, we're here now, though.
As well.
But we're here.
Yeah. We're not really here. We got 50 people. We're not
here.
doing anything.
Yeah, but
frankly,
50 people
hold on,
is very symbolic.
Hold on.
And that is why it
and
kept
you tell their parents
Turkey
that.
from invading.
You tell their parents
Isn't that true?
You tell the parents of those 50 kids how great the symbolism was when a suicide bomber blows up all 50 kids.
But didn't it keep Turkey from invading?
No, I'm not.
No. Gave
you tell
Turkey
their parents.
The green light.
You tell their
Isn't
parents
that
why
true?
they're there.
But isn't that true?
You tell their parents why they're there.
Isn't it true that Turkey did not invade?
How do you feel about the video that we're seeing of the Kurds getting slaughtered?
I find the position of pulling out of these wars, that's a popular one, and I am there. There's a difference in having a strategy and leaving the Kurds there to die.
Interview 9. The debate between Whoopi Goldberg and Rand Paul was a showdown for the ages. Whoopi, clearly caught off guard, struggled to counter Rand's points, while the audience hung on every word. The tension was palpable, and it felt like the room could erupt at any moment. This wasn't just a clash of ideas, it was a collision of two different worldviews. Rand's confidence and preparedness seemed to rattle Whoopi, who looked visibly shaken as the segment ended. Meanwhile, Rand walked away with an air of confidence, knowing he'd